Welcome to the Federal Employee Benefits Workbook training. Over the next few minutes, we're going to be going over the Federal Benefits Workbook that was created by American Benefits Exchange, us. And it's a very useful tool. It's probably the best tool that we have when it comes to doing a presentation for a federal employee and going over all of their benefits, describing to them or explaining to them exactly what they have, what they don't have, the costs that are involved, how things change over time, how to calculate their pension and retirement, etc., etc. So this is what I call the Cliff Notes version of the Federal Employees Benefits. If you've ever seen another useful tool, which is the Federal Employees Almanac, it's kind of a thick read. It's a difficult read. What we try to do is take the meat and potatoes, take what the federal employee needs, and put it into this easy to understand workbook, which is also used as a presentation piece. And you'll see that as we go. These are available for order. There's an order supply form on the Agents Hub portion of the ThinkABX website. You can order these. You can have hard copies. You can certainly use the digital copy, which is my preferred version. And you can fill it out, print it out, bring it to your appointment, and go over the information with your potential client. We'll go through all the pages and how this starts, but again, very useful tool, something we use on a daily basis when talking to federal employees and being able to properly and consistently explain their benefits. So let's dive in. This is the front cover, the newest version of the workbook. The first page will go over all the information that we gather. Now, where do we gather a lot of this? This is going over their pay stub. There are various examples of pay stubs on the Agents Hub website, so be sure to familiarize yourself, if you are not already, with where this information is located. What I'd like to do is gather all of this ahead of time when setting the appointment, talking to the federal employee over the phone, walk them through their pay stub even over the phone to gather what their base salary is, how many years of service, what retirement system they're in, TSP contribution, approximate TSP balance, all of their FEGLI options, as well as the age at which they're going to retire. You can also ask them if they're married, single, children at home, basic health information, depending on how you want to properly prepare for this meeting. But I like to get all of this ahead of time, have this nice and professionally filled out. I can do it digitally, typing in all the information into the fillable form of this, and that way it doesn't have to have my chicken scratch on there, and I'm not doing calculations on the fly, which I'll show you here in a little bit. You can certainly do that with the hard copy, flip through the book and do the calculations during the appointment. Two ways of doing it. On the bottom half of this page is information about our company and some of our specialties, things that we can go over. Other organizations or agencies that we work with. We certainly did not have enough room on this page to put everybody we've ever worked with, but just some examples. And you can utilize some of the examples of people that you've worked with. We start with FEGLI, Federal Employee Group Life Insurance, and walking the federal employee through how to calculate their basic amount, extra benefit amount, if they qualify for it, if they're under the age of 45, and then fast forwarding, looking into the future and seeing what their potential options will be at retirement and those approximate costs that each option will bring. So just going over the basic amount. Again, nothing that we're going to pause and sell or talk to them about helping them with here, but just an overview of basic FEGLI. The next page gets into the options, the optional insurances. Option A on the top, simple yes or no. You can put in their benefit amount. It's either going to be $0 or $10,000. You can show them the cost chart there to the left, and their option in retirement, should they choose to keep it, is really only one option, that they'll walk away with $2,500 of insurance from option A for the rest of their life for free. Important to note that anything really in red is something to explain or emphasize to the federal employee. Those are some of the important things. On the bottom of the page, you have option B and the big cost chart there on the bottom left, the biweekly and monthly factors for option B. an area there on the right for you to put what their current benefit is, and you can calculate what their cost will be over 20 or 30 years. If you watched our Fegley training video, you'll see some of the alternatives or examples of alternatives that you can show a federal employee, which is why I said you might want to ask about health information or basic health information to gauge what rating you might want to illustrate. But you can show an alternative for a 20 or 30-year term, for a permanent type of insurance, just a couple different ways in which you can show them alternatives to their option B. Now, at this point, I will say if going through the workbook, I may ask them if they're wanting to continue to pay the cost increases over time with their Fegley option B, or if they'd want to look at some alternatives with private insurance that can save them tens of thousands of dollars over the course of their working career. They may say, yes, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to continue. Say, okay, we'll come back to this later. I want to continue with your benefits. So up to this point, this is our first opportunity to kind of look for a way to help a federal employee. And trust me, whether they're 25 years old and just started working or 65 years old and going to retire soon, if they have option B, you can save them a ton of money over the course of their working career. Moving on to option C, this is where we're showing them their family optional insurance, depending on the amount of units that they have. This is a place where we can pause and ask them about child and spouse insurance. You can see maximum number of units, 5,000 or 5 units, 5,000 per unit for a spouse, 25,000 total. And a lot of times I'll ask, okay, 25,000, there's not a whole lot of cost here, but not a whole lot of benefit. What other policy do you have on your spouse? Or I'm going to assume you've got additional coverage elsewhere. How much do you have on your spouse? So you're going to assume that they have something extra. If they don't, well, this is another opportunity for you to assist them, because I know if something were to happen to my spouse, $25,000 is not necessarily going to cover it, or $12,500 for each child. Not that we want to think about something happen to our children, but we want to be prepared. There are options for spouse and child insurance that you can assist people with, and this is some of the most underserved areas of the federal market when it comes to child and spousal benefits. On the bottom, talking about the continuation of options B and C in retirement, the really all or nothing aspect of those, and then accidental death or dismemberment that comes with Fegley. So that's Fegley in a nutshell. Now going into retirement. There's 2 pages for each retirement system. The Civil Service Retirement System, or CSRS, people that were hired prior to 1984, is the first section. The next section is the Federal Employee Retirement System, or FERS, and there's 2 pages for that system. This one's pretty easy to understand. Again, things in red are important. Those are the qualifications for a CSRS employee to retire. And then it goes over there to the right of that to explain how. You take the high 3 and multiply it by the factor based upon their years of service. The bottom portion of that will, underneath the grid, talks about survivor benefits for CSRS employees, the amount of benefit plus the total cost for that, and this will come out of the employee's paycheck should they choose to leave a spousal benefit. And then the review page. Both retirement systems have review pages where we're talking about length of service prior to retirement, monthly income in retirement, difference in monthly income, surviving spouse monthly income if they chose it, as well as the cost of that. The 2 boxes above the review talk about the federal employee health benefits and its attachment to the survivor benefit. Those that are in special groups, federal law enforcement officers and firefighters, as well as air traffic controllers, have a slightly different criteria for full retirement, as well as a slightly different computation for retirement benefits. And you can see those calculations and those numbers listed below. The FERS system, again, red things are important, talking about retirement requirements as well as the factors used in the calculation. Just above the retirement requirements, we're talking about contributions to the retirement system for employees that were hired on, depending on their date of hire. So traditional FERS employees, 0.8%, FERS RAE, which stands for Revised Annuity Employees, 3.1%, and FRAE, or Further Revised Annuity Employees, 4.4%. Walk them through the calculation, utilizing their current information that you got from them, current age, years of service, age at retirement, years of service at retirement, and then walking them through that calculation, which is the high 3 times 1 or 1.1%. You can see the requirements up there towards the top right in red. Multiply that by their years of service. You get an annual, divide that by 12. Obviously, you get a monthly retirement income. The chart to the right there talks about the minimum retirement age for those that have 30 years of service. So 30 years of service and their minimum retirement age, which is based upon their birth year. You can find that in the chart. Below there it talks about reduced benefits. So there's an option for early retirement for those that hit their minimum retirement age with 10 years of service. And also talking about the survivor benefits in the bottom section. FERS page 2 is a review page, again, just like the CSRS, reviewing their current pre-retirement income versus monthly retirement, surviving spouse monthly income, surviving spouse annuity monthly cost. Again, talking about the FEHB, or Federal Employee Health Benefits, and its connection to the survivor's annuity. Rules for the special groups, again, law enforcement officers, firefighters, air traffic controllers of the FERS system, as well as the retirement eligibility requirements for military reserve technicians listed below. Examples of cost of living or COLA percentages going back about 10 years. So you can show them the history of the COLAs. Now, once we're done with these calculations, there's a couple pages beyond here that are purely informational. We have information on TSP, 2 pages of TSP talking about what it is, the funds that are involved, and then there are different withdrawal options. Some of the new information in here from previous versions of the Federal Employee Workbook talk about the TSP Modernization Act, which should take effect in September of 2019. So depending upon when you're listening to this video, the TSP Modernization Act and some of the updates to the federal employees' access to their TSP funds. There's a page here on Social Security. Just some basic information there. Important to talk about, though, because we like to say that Social Security is one of the 3 parts of a federal employee's retirement income, or a FERS employee's retirement income strategy. But we plan as if it's not going to be there. Why? Because if you can see the note in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can find this on a Social Security statement. We took this from an example one year. This was 2015. Without changes in 2033, the Social Security Trust Fund will only be able to pay out about 77 cents for each dollar of scheduled benefits. We need to resolve these issues soon to make sure that Social Security continues to provide a foundation of protection for future generations. Social Security itself was not meant as a retirement vehicle. It's actually an insurance plan. It's called an insurance benefit when you get it. It's not an annuity. So a way in which that we like to help federal employees out is say, hey, let's plan as if Social Security is not going to be there. If it is, great, you've got bonus money, but this is just a page at which they can get some basic information on Social Security. So a little side note there, sorry about that. Some basic forms, or most commonly used forms for federal employees. On the top, retirement forms, as well as contact information for OPM. FEGLI, commonly used FEGLI form SF2817 in making modifications to their FEGLI plan. TSP forms below that, common forms TSP 70 and 75, which are the withdrawal requests used to transfer or roll over a federal employee's funds into their own qualified IRA. And then some other information as far as veterans benefits, military time recapture, and Social Security. I've added this to this, so if you need this copy, this is not in the regular form. This is in the fillable version. The financial snapshot in retirement, you can enter in and utilize this notes page in which you can add up their total income in retirement and kind of give them a snapshot of what it's looking like. There are 2 notes pages on here. Here's a blank notes page. And then finally, the back cover where you can put your business card type information, your name, phone number, email, and that way they can keep this. It's kind of a leave behind for them. So that's the Federal Employee Benefits Workbook. Again, our tool, our presentation tool in the federal market, not only to provide the proper information to a federal employee, but to help you with your presentation. Keep it consistent. You can pause along the way to assist them in certain areas, but ideally just want to go over their benefits with them, review it, and make sure they're in the right position both now and going forward. My name is Val Majewski. I'm Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at American Benefits Exchange. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Please be sure to watch some of the other training videos and review the other training modules that are on this website. A lot of useful information on here. If you need help, please contact me. My phone number is 512-582-6050. Email is vmajewski, that's vmajewski@thinkabx.com. Again, thanks for watching this training video on the Federal Employee Benefits Workbook.